So hello everyone, welcome to the video, and today we are going to do the March wrap up. It's a March wrap up video. So in March, from the TBR jar, I picked it up 5 books. That was for my March TBR goal, and for the one book that I picked it up from the Kindle. So there were total 6 books, but out of these 6 books, no, sorry, it makes 7 books. Sorry, 5 or 6. I found one for there. 6. Okay, like whatever. So uh, out of these books, I have not read 2 books from my physical TBR. All right. So yeah. So those 2 books will put back those 2 book prompts back into the TBR jar. All right. At the end of the video, I'll tell you which books have been there, and I've also prepared my number sheets because I actually forget how many stars I've given to the book. So yeah. Let's begin. So the first book that I read was Do It Today. I hope it's visible. So the book was Do It Today by Doris Fox, and this book is actually it's a really very short book, hardly 140 pages long, and this book is divided into 3 parts. So the book actually talks about the first part covers the overcoming the procrastination, do the things right now, make the priorities clear, that what you have to do and what you don't have to do. Your goals should be really very clear, like priorities should be clear about the goals, but the priorities should be really very very clear to you. And the second part covers up the improving the productivity, like how can you improve the productivity by inculcating habit like mindless browsing that we do continuously, like watching the reels or shorts. And other than that, it also talks about the last part talks about the achieving the things. So it says that you have to increase the you can improve 1.1% on a daily basis, or 1% rule that we apply on. Other than that, it also says that the productivity also improves by one thing, that leaving the things behind, which means that your work should be at your workplace and your home should have a separate things, because that will otherwise hampers your productivity at the end, and it will affect the result. Okay, so this book I have given 3.5 stars. It's a really short book, 140 pages long. The books actually have a lot of exercises also. There are things which I have already read, I can not stop talking about this one particular book that I read and have read it twice. That is the Atomic Habits. And there are a lot of things which are common in this book and the Atomic Habits, because I think they both talk about the productivity. But there are a lot of exercises which have been given, like a lot of things which have been given in this book. And plus here it says that the author clearly says that in case you have already read few things and already know few things and you are good in that, you can skip, like you can just skip those part and you can just go to another chapter. You can read whatever chapter you want. Okay, like whatever you can say thing in which you are struggling for, you can just directly go and read that portion to improve yourself. So it's like not like you have to read the chapter wise only. You can do it according to your own choice. If somebody is looking really for some productivity book, and but it should be really short, the chapters are also really short, hardly 4 pages, not more than that each chapter. Like some chapters are even only 2 pages long. So it's like this. So yeah, so this is my first book, and I might while in the entire year process, I feel like I will be picking up this book again and again, just to read some parts in case I want. So but I see myself picking up this book even in the future, like to consider a few things. So this is the first book. Now it comes up the second book, which is the Babel by R.F. Kuang. I hope it stays. Yeah, it will stay. So Babel is the second book that I've read by R.F. Kuang. It is quite a chunky book if you can see. So this is 554 pages if I can remember correctly, and this book took me like a lot of time. So if I talk about this book, so this book is basically being set up. The book setup is actually in the time where the colonial rule was there, the British colonial rule was there, the Britishers were like ruling in the entire world, the British Empire was ruling the entire world, and how the things were getting extracted, like the wealth or the people are being used over there. So the story revolves around a boy known as Robin. His name becomes Robin, like he adapts the name Robin, and he lives in China, in Canton area. So with his mother, but his mother and other family members die in a plague that happens over there. And this professor that comes in, Professor Lowell, comes in over there, and he rescues the boy from the deathbed and takes him away with him and treats him out. And further, he tells him like, what name would you like to pick? So he picks up the name Robin, and some he sees other Gulliver Travel thing. The Robin names comes in, and some book was written like Swift, so he takes the name like Robin Swift that comes up in. Then the Robin travels from China to UK and Oxford over there, Hampstead. He lives in Hampstead with Professor Lowell in his house in Hampstead, where the professor provides all kind of tutors and everyone like to his best of his knowledge to get the child be educated, so the child can be enrolled in the institute name is Babel, which is part of the Oxford. So now Babel is actually an institute, which is Royal Institute for Translations. Here the children from across the world are being brought over here who are like brilliant minds, those who know languages, like 4, 5 languages they are in, like they have a command on, and they are being trained before putting in these institutes. They are being trained by their mentors, which have brought them like from every part of the world, and Robin is one of them. So here he meets certain people. Once he gets into the this Babel institute, he meets like certain people over there, like his batchmates. One is from Africa or Haiti somewhere, one is from India, another was one was the local British girl only. So the 4 people becomes really close friends. But the and Robin is living like a life of its own, and he feels that the only place where he is safe and he has all the things that he wanted in his life, because he was someone who wanted to study. Okay, so he feels that in this scenario I will be like, there is no place I can go. I have no family, I have no memory of my homeland, also the canton, the place the Robin belongs to. So he simply says that okay, fine, I'll live at this place. Robin just start mingling with these other 3 colleagues of mates of his, and they become like really good friends. And later on, like there are a lot of things that happens. Especially he meets with another guy in like at night, in at Oxford and near the Babel, and the guy exactly like him, and he always doubted Professor Lowell also, who was his guidance mentor. There was something which has been like very fishy about his like why he's so involved in his Robin's life, like why he saved Robin's life. And there are a lot of clarity that comes up, and later like he gets to know that there's another thing which exists in the Oxford, and which is Royal Institute. This Babel of translation actually is a part of doing things like where the Babel students are being put in this institute to make the silver working. So the silver from the entire world is being collected in UK, and is being given to the Babel, to the Babel, and is Babel or Babel, whatever you call it. The students who are working over there put like engrave words on these silver bars, like the one word and its translation in another language. And there are a lot of like debates happen, like which one will be the adapt or the perfect example of the perfect translation for the particular word. And the silver is being used in the entire country, like for running the engines, for clock, for lights, and for everything the silver is being used. So the secret society works in against Babel, and how the things unfold later on, chapter by chapter it goes, how the relationship of Robin with his friends, and like with his friends Rami, or the Letty, or the Victoria, which has been there, and with Griffin, who is you'll get to know who Griffin is, like because his relationship with his professors, or with Professor Lowell, how the things develop, how things changes, and what actually happens at the end. So the story keeps you hooked till the end. Actually, this is my first Arif Kwang book, and I really liked it. I rated it 4 stars. I don't know how much stars have been given in the Goodreads, but I felt it's a 4-star reads, and I actually liked it a lot. So yeah, I'll pick another Arif Kwang book. I really wanted to read Yellowface and Catabasis too. So yeah, so this is my overall view for the Babel, and I really love the book. I don't know how many have read it or not, but yeah, this is my overall view for it. So the next book that comes up is the book that has been gifted to me by a dear friend of mine, and the book is The Maid. It is written by Neeta Prose. It is a basic, it is a thriller book. So Babel was a fantasy, and Rooted was a self-help book, non-fiction. So this is a thriller book which I read by Neeta Pro. So The Maid is a story of a girl. I forgot her name. Molly. Yeah. So the name of the girl, this girl Molly is there, who is actually, her parents are not there, and she was being like born and brought up, like she was being brought up by her grandmother, and the grandmother is now no more too. And the Molly works as a maid in a reputed hotel in the city, and she's a maid, like she's responsible for the cleaning and for the maintenance of the room, especially the suites which are being given to the high profile guests. So here Molly is actually working one day. Like what happens is that Molly is usually there are a lot of guests which comes regularly in this hotel. So there's a guest who comes regularly over here in the hotel and stays for his work purpose with his wife, who is like very younger to the husband. And because Molly was assigned to clean this room, so she was like always, so, and the girl was the wife of the husband was not allowed to go out of the room or do anything. So she becomes acquaintance with the Molly, and she starts sharing things and here and there that. And she later on learned that there are a lot of things which are happening. She always used to like the girl is living such a good life and this and that, but she was satisfied in her own life too. And one more thing, that Molly is not one normal, just a bit over here. So Molly is not someone who is a normal maid. She is different from the people. She doesn't understand people very well. She doesn't know that whether the people are laughing at her or laughing with her. So she don't understand that people call her robotics or something like that, robo or something like that, that she operates in such a manner. She doesn't understand what people are commenting or something like that. But here in the entire hotel, there are one person who is really, who really takes care of Molly, is the watchman of the hotel. Molly's grandmother passed away. He told the person that you should take care, just take care of my Molly, because like she is different from the people. But Molly is very very good at work. She prefers the work to be done very precisely, and the cleaning should be done very well. All the standards should be matched, and the people in the hotel, like other maids, does not like this part of the Molly. And so the Molly become acquaintance of this girl. And the one day when Molly like shows up in the room for the cleaning purpose, she finds that the entire hotel room was a mess, and she just goes and check it out. She finds that the person is dead. So then she calls up the reception, and everything like these things happen. So later on, the Molly is been interrogated, and she's been like released. Okay, final interrogation is done because you are the first one to find the body. But what happens is the police, the inspector, investigating inspector, also finds that Molly is either she's very cunning because she's answering in a way where the person doesn't understand, or she is just does not get the things. So he becomes a little bit confused. Later on, Molly also has two other friends. One from who works in the kitchen is this guy. Another one is a bartender who works over there. So like Molly has a really inclination or attraction towards the guy who's working in as a bartender. And but she also shares a good relation with the guy who's working in the kitchen. But she just treats him like a friend. So later Molly is being a lot of things happens, and there's another head maid who is also in there, who just does not like Molly at all. Once being released, after that the Molly again gets arrested for the murder that happened in the hotel. And Molly doesn't understand like why I have been arrested, because I didn't do anything, I don't know. So she tells them that okay, so there are a lot of things that gets been discovered. There are a lot of clues which are being there, which goes against Molly. Now the Molly just called this guard person who was being there, the watchman who was being there, and the watchman has a daughter who is the lawyer actually. So they comes up and they gets the Molly release, and then the things that they say, they start talking and they start putting the pieces here and there, and then they get to know like what the fishy things were being involved, and there is big thing which happens. So but the once the book gets over, the epilogue has been there at the end of the book. I think prologue, or yeah, that's a prologue at the end of the book. Don't miss, if you're reading this, if you've read this book, you know what I mean. And if you've not read this book, there's a prologue at the end of the book, and that prologue holds the biggest secret of the entire book. Initially, like when I was reading the book, initially I got so frustrated with the character of the Molly, that how a person can be so dumb. She doesn't understand a word, she doesn't understand anything. Okay, if she's always in a question that what should I do. If my grandmother would have been there, I would have discussed the things with her, but I don't know, or now I don't have her, I don't know whom to talk, what to do, this and that. So yeah, I just take my herbal tea. This is a spearmint tea. It's really good. It's a herbal tea. So yeah, it's good for the acne, for the PCOD or PCOS, whatever it is. So it's good for that. So yeah, and I've given 3.5 stars to it. Although the biggest secret of the entire book, the biggest plot of the entire book, nobody could have guessed this one. It was, even I was like, how come this can happen? How come this thing, nobody can imagine this last part. I could have not imagined. The entire chapters were like fine, they were like going way, because I detected, like I got to know like what was being there. Okay, you can easily put the places after like few, initially even you will get suspicious about few things, and later on you can easily put the uh, pieces of the puzzle at the place. Okay, and things happens that way only. But the last part that I'm talking about, it is that part which actually brings the major twist of the entire book. Nobody could have guessed that twist at all. So yeah, this is the book. All right, so this is my third book. The next book that I read was the Abscond, which is a short story by Abraham Varghese. So this is the book that I read on Kindle. It's a like 38-page book, long book, and the Abscond is actually a story of a guy, a teenage boy who lives in United States, America, and he has his father who's a surgeon and a mother who's a housewife, and he has a friend, his best friend, whom he has grown up with, who is that lives next to his home, and a guy and another person around the age of his father, who lives the street across. And they are like family friends. Another than that, the father is a surgeon, and because the guy is now teenage, he loved how this happens. Like usually the teenage children, you get drifted away from your parents. You don't understand like what should I talk, what should I do. And this guy is actually been inclined towards playing the tennis, and the father supports a lot. Father, being a doctor and a surgeon, still supports his son that whatever you want to do, you can do. But the mother was adamant, no, you should do the surgeon only. And the boy never spoke about like he wanted to be a tennis player, but his father knew, so his father supported him silently. If the mother said something, he just did not respond to it and just let the things passed on. So the father was really like a good father figure, and was a good husband too. But one day the father actually dies. Like he comes back home just to have his lunch, and during that time the father passes away. The boy comes back home and sees the situation, sees the people, and sees the condition of his mother. The boy is hardly 13 or 14 years old, like very just starting of the teenage. So now the story is basically talks about, it's an emotional story. So the story actually talks about how the different people in a family deals with the grief, because each and every person has a different perspective of dealing with the grief. And sometimes it happens that, because this is the major thing which has been addressed in the book and which I really liked it, that sometimes we get lost in ourselves so much in grieving the person that we have lost, the family member that we have lost, that we forget the thing that there is another person who has also might be suffering the same way, and we should also address their problem also, because sometimes we get engrossed in ourselves so much that we don't address their problems or their mindset at that in that situation, that what they are going through, what emotional turmoil they are going through, and we get absorbed in ourselves so much. So the story actually talks about that you should be considerate in a situation, like it does not give the message, but you can understand by the end of the story that you should be considerate enough to, even in a situation like these, you should be considerate enough to take the account of the other people emotions too, that they're also grieving, and sometimes the other people don't get a chance to even grieve because they have to handle a lot of things, like the funeral and everything, and they also have to take care of the other person also who is grieving, and the person doesn't get the chance to grieve. And how the friend supported that child, the belly, the name of the friend was belly, I'm not, the name of the guy was, I don't remember, but the mother calls her Kanna, which is like and the backdrop is of like a South Indian family has been there. And how that neighbor who lives across the street, who is a kind of a family friend, who also this helps in this situation, which is like arised in some way, which is a like unexpected thing that happened. Although there were other friends of his father's friend who had been there, supported them, but later on, the person who was next like the street across, and his friend are the two people who are actually supported the boy and his mother the most, and like made them understand that what they are suffering, they both are suffering from the same grief, and they should be considerate of each other. So this is a very very short story, like 38 pages, not more than that. But I really liked it. I saw the reel of this. That I think Instagram reel I've seen on the Instagram, and somebody has recommended this book. I don't know who has recommended, but whomsoever has recommended, this is one of the like very good book that I have read. So yeah, so this is the book number 4, and the book number 5 is Malala. I am Malala by Malala Yousafzai. So when I talk about this book, okay, so the abscond I have given 4 stars, and this is the book I am Malala by Malala Yousafzai, and as we all know that it's written by Christina Lamb. So Malala was a girl who used to live in the Swat region of Pakistan, which is near the Afghanistan border, and like the KPK, the area which is called KPK, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. And the girl is being born to a father who was, in a family where the father has a progressive mind. Like he wanted his children, whether girl or a boy, to be like well educated, because father himself was an educated person. He opened his own school, he started his work. Malala was also, if I talk about Malala, that the initial story that I talk about, that Malala was a girl who always had her own opinion, that if this is happening, this should be like this should be like this. She had a voice, and his father encouraged her to speak. Her father encouraged her to speak her mind out, and she started going. Her father started, like his father also struggled a lot financially to bring a school in a region, and especially, and like his father also struggled. The entire story of his father's struggle with the words of Malala, that how she explained it very well. And the book is divided into two, three parts. Is being divided, 3, 4 parts is being divided, and the first part covers entirely of the Malala's childhood, like before the 9/11, of the entry of the Taliban into the Swat region. Then the story shifts to the nearby 9/11 thing, or near or after 9/11 thing, where the twin tower attack that happened by the Taliban on, by the Al Qaeda on the, not the Taliban, sorry, Al Qaeda on the twin tower in America. So there are, and the entry of Taliban, who actually practices and teaches the ideology, which is, I don't agree with. There might be many people who don't agree with such an ideology, where the women should be banned from going out, having an education, or should be covered entirely. Should not show their face, should be under a certain, attire that they wear. Uh, so. And they also opposes education. So initially they started with like Malala has spoke about a lot of characters in this entire book, where she talks about the first initial things happened when the earthquake struck, and the government did not help much. So this particular person was also the leader of Taliban, I think so, entered in the Swat region, helped the people out in that region. So people started thinking that, oh, he's a good guy, he's helping us out. And the and later he started his own FM channel and started giving speeches. Initially he has given the normal speeches, like how to follow the religion, what things you should do, what things you should not do, the general things. Then then his people started coming into the valley, started monitoring the people, and punish the people according to the religious laws and this. And people, even initially, people even gave their money, their gold and everything, like to fund his mission, whatever the mission he was having, the people thought that he was having. And Malala's father was always against these things. Like initially, like he said, okay, fine, this is fine, but you should know, should uh, understand, you should take perceive things according to your understanding rather than following the people blindly, which he does not support, he didn't support. His wife also fell into the same trap, but later she understood that, okay, this is not the something which I would like to have it. Although the Malala's mother was not educated, she hardly had some education, but she did not go to school. After, like, she went to school for a few days and she never went to school. His father was well educated, and later on, the Swat became the uh, epicenter of the fight of Taliban, where the Taliban started doing the atrocities on the women, on the men, everyone, and then the military that comes in. Then the fight begins, and later on, the Malala and his family has to leave the, like, almost entire people, all the people have to leave their house in Swat and go to the Islamabad region, or the Islamabad region, where they were being called as IDP, like displaced people, yeah, internally displaced people, something like that. And things happened, but Malala kept on speaking on, like, giving the debates or speaking against the things which the Taliban was doing in the Swat region, which she did not support, especially the education of the girls. Were like, why to stop the education? Even though God says that education is important, it is the right of each and every person which is there. It is respect of the gender. So she started talking about these things, and she started appearing. Initially, she started writing the diary of her own and sending the material to the people with some other name. I think Gul Makai was the name that was being there initially, but later on she started appearing with her own name, and started appearing on the televisions, on giving the interviews to BBC and to every news channels. And there are a lot of support that also came in. Once the Taliban was being displaced by the army, as been told, they came back to the Swat, because his father always wanted to go back to his home, and they all wanted to go back to their home back. They came over there, but still the normalcy did not return the way it was before Taliban. Still, the killing started again, and this time, instead of, like, having the targeting the people randomly, like all the people will be targeted, this time the Taliban started targeting the special people who were speaking against him. So one people was targeted, that was the friend of Malala's father, that he was being shot, but later he was being saved, or whatever happened with him. And the things continued, and Malala kept on speaking on the things that they're uh, because of the Taliban, they had to, like, cover themselves up properly and, like, hide their books and go to the school, so that they don't find that, okay, they're having the books or something. uh, Taliban also made certain promises that, okay, we will, like, I don't know what the word, the allow, like, how can you allow someone who has given the permission to say the word allow? But the Taliban said, okay, we allowed the people to have the girls to have the education, but they have to be covered. Certain things should be avoided, this and that. Girls and boys should not. And there was a separate girls' school, so that was not a thing. But that, like, they have their mindset which has been there. So the things kept on going, and the things starts getting, bad and bad. Malala starts getting the threats, and when she was out, like, in Islamabad to receive some award or something, there was a threat that came to her house, and people, Taliban, will start searching, and the intelligence agencies were also questioning the whereabouts of the family, like, what you're doing, why you're doing this, why you're speaking like that, don't do this, don't do that. So the intelligence agencies start putting the pressure on Malala and Malala's father to not to speak, not to go here and there. Okay, and, like, why you have done this, why you have done that, why you've done this, like, for small things. The intelligence agency, the who should be responsible for protecting the people and to eliminate the threat, they were, like, threatening the Malala and her family. And things got worse and worse day by day. And once the Malala was, like, coming back, she was being shot. Three girls were being shot in the van, the school van, when she was coming back. And luckily, the bullet did not damage the major portion, but yeah, her condition was not in a because of the, also not a condition, but because of the facilities which was available there was not sufficient to make her survive. So later on, after keeping her few days, like initial operation, she was being transported to Birmingham, the doctor that treated Malala in the in Pakistan was the one who actually came from the Birmingham only, and she was some child care specialist or something like that. So she took, and later the family joined after 2 weeks. So her entire journey from like from a little girl to the woman that she became is the story, and how does recovery process took place, what happened, her family struggles during that time when there was the hardest period, when for the 2 weeks Malala was alone in Birmingham, and the people were like the doctor who was the initial person who treated Malala in Pakistan also like taken care of, like okay, the surgery has happened, the girl will not survive if she stays over here, she needs to be transported. So how the things happened, how his family also suffered a lot of things, and their further life, like how they started living in Birmingham. So this is the entire story of Malala. I don't know how many of you have read the story, because this is something which we all like. I know the story of Malala because when she was shot, I was like, it was all over the news. So I have watched it. I have now read the book. So I have given the book to 4 stars actually, and although there are a lot of things that I don't agree with the girl, with Malala, like uh, that's my personal opinion, which I don't agree with her, like a lot of certain things, not in the book I'm talking about, but in general, like after receiving the Nobel Prize and how she started working, I don't agree with certain parts of her life, uh, in the public things that she does, like speaking on selective things, avoiding certain things. Okay, she talks about girls education, but there are certain things which are happening with the girls in her home country, and she never speaks about that. So that raises certain questions in my mind. So yeah, but overall it's an inspirational story. If that, and she says that if somebody, if you really want something so hard, you should at least give a fight for it, you should fight for it, and if you fight for it, you might get that thing or two. So yeah, so this is basically a good story to read, inspirational one. Okay, all right. So this is my entire 5 books that I have read. 4 over here, 1 over there. Total 5 books I have read. Now, the 2 books that I did not read was Whatever You're Looking For Is in the Library and The Norwegian Wood. So I have not finished these 2 books, which means that the number prompts, which are over here, these two, I will put them back into the TBR jar, because I will pick them some other time. And so this is the reading wrap up for me for the entire month, and I'll see you in the next video. Till then, bye bye.